Two issues, and I think the congressman really hit on the main one, which is we need to understand from the SEC what the regulatory environment is that's going to govern crypto more generally. So the SEC has done a great job regulating by enforcement action. So they've shut down a lot of the ICOs and things of that sort. We haven't yet seen kind of prospective regulation from them about are these securities, are these commodities, and what does it mean? I think what Facebook's doing is trying to kind of, help get in front of that opportunity. And I think with a company like Facebook and the consortium they have behind it, I think this may be our best chance to actually get some of those answers.
Why Switzerland?
Well, I think it's what the congressman said, which is right now it's not entirely clear what the regulatory status is in the U.S. I know the SEC is working on it, but there has not been a lot of clarity yet. And I don't know the exact reason, from Facebook's perspective, why Switzerland, but I think we are seeing more companies generally in the crypto space think about jurisdictions outside the U.S. until we have better clarity.
What about people who are skeptical of the amount of data Facebook has, some of the irresponsible behavior that we've seen with Facebook, and whether this will just turn Facebook into a shadow bank with even more personal data?
Look, I think they're two separate questions, and I think they're both fair questions. So if there's data privacy issues to deal with, I believe the government will, and they'll address those issues with Facebook. This is a different project, right? The whole idea here is, can we create internet money? Right? And if you think about that, the idea is there's lots of people who are unbanked today. There's lots of countries where it's very hard to transact in local currencies. Even with PayPal, right, who's been around for a very long time, there's a lot of countries where you can't actually do business with PayPal. And so the idea is, could you have a distributed, single kind of internet money that will allow people all over the world to be able to transact? And I think, if we can get that, I think that's a positive thing.
The unbanked have been mentioned a lot in the last couple of days after this announcement. What about the banked, and in a market like the United States where lots of people are banked? Do the banks, like JP Morgan Chase, like Wells Fargo, do they need to be worried? Is this going to take a lot of their business?
I don't know yet. We'll see when it rolls out. But I think the idea is it's very hard on the internet because of transaction costs and because of fraud to do a lot of kind of transactional work today, particularly microtransactions, right? So you can imagine if you wanted to transact in pennies, for example, on the internet, it's just not possible to do that given transaction costs associated with the credit card rail. So I think if internet money takes off, it will be basically an antidote to those problems, which is, can you get actually microtransactions working? Can you get international transactions working? Can you get local currencies to a point where people don't have to worry about hyperinflation in particular?
Technical question. If it's for the unbanked, how do you transfer money in exchange for Libra?
Yeah, so I think Facebook is still going to determine that spectrum, but what they will likely do is presumably there will be wallets that will either be built by Facebook or the other providers. At some point, of course, as with all things, you will need fiat currency to get in there, but you won't have to have reference to a bank account or a credit card. There will be other ways to get that in. I don't know the details yet for how that will happen, but certainly there is a fiat currency off-rail at some point in time.